Everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Apex, the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Let's talk about some of the stuff going on in the sport overall, in general, out there. Roster mania. We've got Nations Cup stuff we got to talk about. We've got a lot of different things that we should probably get to talking about here. And I guess the major thing here, I guess it kind of leans into the roster mania side of things, but I do want to talk a little bit about and close the chapter on what I believe is the craziest story coming out of Apex the last couple of weeks, which is the Fnatic era with YukaF has officially come to a close. YukaF has moved on. Fnatic no longer being at the helm of YukaF. I believe I saw a Jayhawk tweet saying something along the lines of he was like in the top 5 of longest players to be with an org for the longest amount of time, which is super, super impressive. So I do want to congratulate him on that. It's very rare, at least in Apex Esports, to see somebody sticking with an org for that long. And it's honestly, it's impressive, man. It's like you kind of look at some of these, when I think of traditional sports, you think of certain players and the jerseys that they wear, even if they end up leaving and going to different teams, you'll never forget that era of that player. And I don't think YukaF is any sort of exception. Jumba, I think it's insane how long he was there, but also the success that he had. Ultimately, he was never able to bring in that LAN win. But, man, just so much impressive stuff coming from YukaF with his time with Fnatic.
Yeah, the LAN win always escaped him, but up until this year, he won Pro League. Like, I think it was something like 5 or 6 splits straight. I could look it up to get the exact number, but it was over 2 years that every Pro League YukaF, even with different teammates, because Fnatic tended to swap out the other 2 players, but he was always there, won almost every single Pro League. It was wild.
And Donnie, I mean, it's such a testament to not only the player, but also the organization, right? Because it's like we just don't see this very often. And especially in a time right now where obviously things aren't super great. like things aren't super great everywhere. And it seems like a lot of these teams get signed for just a LAN. And then after that, their contract, runs out. And also for Fnatic, it's like you also were able to house many like really solid teams, really solid rosters. And with YukaF there the entire time, it's impressive from both sides of things. And I'm sad it's come to an end. But for the future of YukaF and for the future of Fnatic, what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, you just thought, with APAC North, anytime the conversation got brought up, it's Fnatic, right? Like, you always thought about Fnatic, you thought about YukaF, what roster they were putting together. And yeah, it's definitely going to be quite the change. It's going to be weird to see him rocking some different colors and uniforms and things like that. I think for YukaF, it's definitely going to be a roster that, this past year it was kind of all building towards champs with 2 younger players. And now with working with Mike and Satuki, I think it'll be a little bit different. I think they'll be able to hit the ground running maybe a little bit quicker than they did last year, just based on these guys having some decent experience now at, being more towards the top of APAC North, or just at least, in the system of Apex as a whole. So I think for YukaF, I think that roster will still be very good. They'll obviously be competing like the likes of E36 and Unlimit for that top spot. But I think for Fnatic, with not only Yuka leaving, but also it was double checking my stuff, Libel Ace as well. They lose 2 members, so just leaves Colonel Garcia. It sounds like he's staying with Fnatic, and from everything I've seen so far, they are still going to field the team. So for them, it's definitely going to be a rebuild. It's going to be one that there'll definitely be questions on what they will look like. I believe it's March 20th is when rosters have to get locked in. So for them, they will definitely be looking around because APAC North right now, for those who haven't kept up with them, there's been a lot of movement with different players leaving, different players joining up. So it's going to be one that, yes, it does suck to see, Fnatic lose a couple of members, but if there is a time to maybe get some new players and still not feel the hit too bad, I think it's right now, because there's so many teams throughout the entire Pro League, whether it's the top or down at the bottom, that are going to be looking for new players and kind of rebuilding how they approach things. So it'll definitely be odd, not seeing YukaF with Fnatic, but again, I definitely see, both still being very successful, whether it's right off the bat or maybe after a little bit of time.
It was just year 3 and year 4, by the way. It was 4 splits that they were first.
Yeah. But another chapter closes in Apex Legends, but it also opens up another door. So we'll see what Yuka and the new boys can do over there with his new squad. I believe the name is Zeta Division, right?
Zeta Division.
Zeta Division.
So,
that is the new squad.
It's a pretty cool. I think that did they field an Apex roster in the past? I feel like they did.
I believe they exited Apex in 2022, or 2022 is what I had saw. So yeah, they've been there
cool
before.
Org, though, but the announcement video was pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I believe they're pretty active in other esports as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just like an org that just kind of came back. So I think it's definitely one for Yuka, especially. You know, I don't think he leaves Fnatic unless he feels really good with the new org he's moving to. So yeah, I expect a lot of good things from the org. And yeah, if that announcement video by itself, if that's a sign of the content they'll be putting out, I think that's going to be a lot of fun to see what they can come up with while they got this roster.
Yeah, I mean, they're already even partnered with Red Bull and everything like that, so they're pretty legit, it feels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the next bit of news, I feel like, or less, I should say, the next bit of roster mania that I think is absolutely insane. And once again, it's got to be pretty insane if an NA show isn't really leading with NA. But we've got just 2 crazy things happening in other regions. We've got Effect going from Alliance to Aurora in a transfer deal, which is that the first time we've ever had a transfer deal?
Well, first of all, yeah, I was surprised you didn't open up with Effect. I thought you were going to open up with Effect because that's the crazy one to me.
Okay, you can kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, I'm not saying like one's bigger than the other. It's all in the way you look at it. It's just like I get Yuka's been with Fnatic for so long. It's the Effect has been with Alliance for very long. But the bigger thing about Effect is like that they were so successful, right,
Yeah.
with LANs for that 1 year. So like that's just why I thought that's what you're going to open up with. It transfer deal. I didn't understand that because it's not like they took
anybody else.
Yeah, no, like I think what it means, a transfer deal, is it probably has something to do with like how his contract works and like a buyout or some shit like that. And I think that they're just using terms like that, but like buyouts and shit like that has happened before in Apex. I could be completely wrong. Like, explain to me, did you see any details about what they meant by transfer? I didn't.
No, I saw no details at all. I was trying to look and see if I could figure anything out. I couldn't. I just like to picture the fact that like it could just be a trade because my traditional sports brain is always looking for some reason to just call anything a trade. And a player didn't go back, so I was like, I don't know, maybe got this. Maybe they got some new monitors,
future cash considerations.
Cash considerations. Yeah. No, I was just trying to think of anything they could have traded. But so Effect moving on from Alliance. Donnie, this one's really big because like Jumba said, this team has been very, very successful. And YukaF had been with Fnatic for a long time and he'd seen a lot of success. But I don't know if they had seen the success that Alliance and Effect had seen together as a squad. At one point, they were like the most dominant team, I think, in Apex Legends, debatably, but I thought they were. This move kind of came out of nowhere. When you first saw the news, what was your reaction to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if anybody's like, "Oh, I 100% saw this coming,"
you're a liar.
Unless you're in the camp, like you're not telling the truth. Like there was rumblings that maybe there was something that could happen, but again, like I feel like there's always rumblings when teams don't do well that should do well, and they still end up staying together. You know, we obviously, maybe the exception was obviously when the TSM, HAL, like all that, like, but that all happened pretty, relatively.
Everybody
quickly.
knew, by the way, at that. If you showed up to the LA LAN, you knew what was happening after.
Yeah.
You just knew.
So, with Effect, I definitely think this was one that definitely caught me by surprise. I really thought that, this year really wasn't necessarily like, them just like not meshing well, at least from what I saw. I just felt like a lot more of like other teams getting better. Like, obviously Apex just being the BR that it is, like it's very hard to be sustainable for a long time, always being top 3, top 4. So it really just felt like they might just reload it and get back after it. But yeah, to see him go to Aurora, I mean, it's definitely quite an interesting power shift that could take place. We'll obviously have to see the teams play to see how it looks. But I mean, you're talking about a guy that, I mean, basically since he's been around, he's led Pro League and EMEA for kills, which I believe it's like year 3 was when he really like started playing. So that'd be 6 splits in a row that he probably led Pro League over in EMEA. And then any LAN that he was at, he was always top 5, top 6 in terms of kills. and a couple of those probably number one. So it's somebody that you have to talk about. You have to, it really raises some eyebrows of what possibly those conversations could have been. And it could not even be that deep. It could have just been like, hey, like, I think we just need to make a change. I think that you're still a great player, but I think in a new environment, you might, things might work better for both of us. So it's going to be one that I think Aurora definitely is going to be a very fun team to watch. We'll have to see how it looks, just because it is going to be a very, very aggressive team. And it's going to be one that it really could feel like a kill race between Alliance and Aurora if both teams play up to their capability. And there's some good rumors about who the third might be for Alliance, and if it is who I think it ends up being, I think a lot of other people think it's going to be. Those two rosters will definitely be competing for number one.
You're just going to tease the listeners like that. You're just going to tease them like that.
I feel like we're going to get to some of this maybe later, but I mean, I'll just say it. I mean, I if it's not Aku from Gaming Gladiators, I'll be shocked. I think it makes a ton of sense. I think that he wouldn't necessarily want to run it back with his squad, just because them not making it out of loses round one, I think, was definitely a shock. And I just don't think in many situations those teams are going to want to run it back. And I just think his role with what he brings just makes a lot of sense for how Hawkins can kind of take, again, like this young fragger and just put him into a situation where just be like, hey, just get to this spot that I tell you to, or this fight that we want to take, or whatever the case is, and just shoot your gun. Let me take care of the rest. Like, I just think his game really fits well. I think him and Unlucky would play off each other very, very well at the same time. And I just think it makes a ton of sense, because when I heard that name, I even had Panic even replied saying it's Aku. So, like, again, he could know, he could maybe not know, but like it's one of those things that if it's not him, I'd be shocked. But if that is the roster, those two are going to be going back and forth. Obviously, you can mix in Citadel, you can mix in Go Next, but those two teams will be a ton of fun to watch, especially if they get into a 3v3.
Yeah, I believe the full squad from the new version of Aurora will be Oirain, Effect, and Hyarka, which I also found super interesting, because I feel like Hyarka has been with who's his duo that he's been with for
Yusako.
Yeah, I'll maybe say it right next time.
Yeah. Yusako, yeah, there it is. It's been, they did have a time where they split up a little bit, but they kind of came back together. Obviously, they win last year's champs, so he's splitting up, and then they're going to go on this separate little venture here. And I'm here to state right now, congratulations to Aurora for winning Pro League in Split 1. Congratulations.
What are you
guys
doing
done
that for? What is that?
You guys
for?
No, because they're going to win Pro League.
Hyarka's a friend of the pod.
I know, and that's why I'm saying he's going to win Pro League. I'm doubling down on my predictions. It's not
for the
me. It's
for
not
the
me.
listeners, by the way. Jumbo and I were not privy to this happening.
Yeah,
so
congratulations to Aurora.
We would have stopped him if we knew this was going to happen ahead of time.
They're winning Pro League.
I apologize.
Trust.
What I was going to throw in quickly about like the whole situation is that I think it's interesting. I don't even know if it was that like Effect left, or if Alliance like if he was like dropped essentially, or if it was like a mutual parting of ways. Like, I don't think it's been discussed what exactly happened, why it came out that, or why they split ways or anything. But I just wanted to kind of add on to like what Donnie was saying, that if you look at last year, them not performing as good in the most two recent lands, and then on top of that, like Effect's been there since year 2. I think it very much was like a changing of scenery thing. I don't think anyone's looking at that squad and going, who's better than Effect, that you need to go get a better player, compared to it being more of a change of scenery things. And I think it's even similar with Hyarka. It actually might be the same thing. Like, you played with someone for so long. On one hand, I think that works. I think it's why both those teams had success, because they knew how to play, because they were like mature about it, because they had that chemistry, and they were able to, like, I guess, build like this such deep understanding that other teams who like play together for 2 months and go rip it at a LAN don't get. But there is also at some point where you play so long with a person that I think it gets to, it's like, okay, we've done this now, we've had successes, but we've also had things where it's not working. It might be time to go find different scenes. So I think it was on the side of both.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think any team outside of Alliance, if Effect is available, you're going to pick up Effect.
Yeah.
So
you're going to make that transfer deal. You're going to toss in some extra
reading the
keyboards.
wording, I straight up think, and again, I could be wrong. I straight up think that it was just a buyout. Like,
Probably.
as this is an agreement to a transfer, which makes me think like they bought his contract out.
I just like to think of it in trade terms.
But I mean,
I'm
like, it kind of that is what an esports trade basically is. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like back when Koifel was on XSET. No, before XSET, he was on Sentinels, and then XSET, like, he went to go play with them. Reason some teams couldn't like get Koifel is because they didn't want to pay the buyout the Sentinels had. So like XSET was able to, and that's why he went there.
Yeah. There it is. Okay, so that is Effect, that is Alliance, that is Aurora. Those are some of the other major roster mania moves. The next one, finally getting to NA, Panic is moving on from TSM and moving over to Team Liquid with Sykes and Zero. Now, we had talked, Donnie, I mean, when you were here inside the studio, we were talking about the fact that I think no matter what happens with TSM, I think they could win this tournament. They're probably still going to be a split with Panic and TSM. I just felt like it was inevitable. I think you kind of felt the same way. There was always going to be a move from TSM, and it finally comes through. He's going to go play with Zero and Sykes on Team Liquid. I think this is a good move overall for both sides. I really just feel like no matter where Panic goes, I think you're going to see a little bit of success. He just brings that. He's done really, really well at these lands. And I don't know, he just continues to get better and better. And every time he's on the screen at any sort of LAN, I just start laughing because sometimes they put the camera on him. He has this awkward look at him, and it just makes me laugh every single time. I love Panic to death.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Panic, if you just looked at things purely in terms of like roles and like on paper, it made 100% certainty that this should happen. Like, they needed an entry fragger. They needed someone who could be aggressive. They needed somebody that could really open up their fights. And Panic is perfect for that. And I think the only questions that people have with this roster before and now was, can the personalities work? And can the character selection make sense? Because, again, people want to talk about, Zero not being willing to play crypto or whatever the story is behind that. And we've already seen it very early on. And if anybody watched scrims even today, Zero is on crypto until it's banned. And Panic is running the Altar, the Wraith, these entry characters that he was already on previous teams. So it only makes it, again, I could not see a different team that he would go to, because, again, when you get the chance to play with a guy like Zero, you get a chance to play with somebody like Sykes. It only makes sense to go there. And then you add on top of that, you go to Liquid Alienware, which is one of the more sustainable orgs in all of esports. Because if anybody watches any other esports, they're in everything and are consistently fielding teams. So it definitely makes a lot of sense for him. Like we've talked about why, and like we've all talked on the show, like he's just continuing to kind of make that next step moving forward. And if he can just keep growing as a player, growing as a person, I mean, the sky's the limit with this roster. I mean, it's going to be very scary to see what their potential could be. Because if they're already looking like they are now, and again, I know it's scrims, I know it's tier 2, but like, I mean, they're picking up 15, 16, 17 kills a game already after only working together for 2-3 days. So I did also want to mention as well, too, with this roster, Capreme was working with them as a coach today in Scrim. So that might be who ends up coaching them, which, again, we'll have to see kind of how that relationship works, because I don't believe he's worked with any of them before. Jumbo might be able to correct me on that if he knows differently, but so that'll be interesting to see kind of how his philosophy comes in and how that kind of works as well. But yeah, a lot to like with this Liquid roster.
Capreme. I don't know why I feel like I remember Capreme working with Sykes on, but I could be confusing him when he was working with Monsoon and Funk, and I'm thinking about when Sykes and Funk played together, and so like, yeah, no, I don't think Capreme ever has.
Yeah.
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 Crazy though. Like those three like roster drops, I did not think we were gonna get this week, but I guess like roster lock is coming up in a month here, so the chips started having to drop here. But those are three pretty big moves.
Yeah. 3 massive moves. And also, I don't care what you feel about Zero or Hal. you need them both to be good to make this rivalry juicy. You got to have them both being good. You needed this move to happen, man. We obviously saw what
Zero,
Falcons can do.
I would say that like the end, like they're like Zero going to a new squad, like middle of split, everything like that. And it's like not like Funk or Sykes are like ass by any matter, like, you know, and like Sykes and Zero have played together. So like, you know, you expected them to be good because of like the name power that they did have. But like no matter what, I think whenever you have a team just like thrown together that quick, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. And like once this year came around and like a new leaf was turned over, you knew Zero was going to have a competitive team again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we even said that when the team was formed, like when the pod came out and we figured out what the team was going to be, there was a lot of like, you know, probably not the 100% ideal situation that Zero wanted to be in. But he did the best he could with it. And then we knew in the offseason things were obviously gonna pick up, things were gonna change, and that's what happened.
I think it's something I'm gonna be talking to. I want to ask Hal about when we have him on the pod. But like, yeah, the goal is like not the goal. Like, it seems like role fit is more important than ever before in Apex, and like teams are finally coming to understand that. Mostly because of like Legend Ban and just how like some of the characters have gone like ever since over the last year of like with Legend Ban. But yeah, role fit just sounds like so much more important because, like you said, or Donnie, like, you know, bringing up like the Zero is on the crypto now. Like the teams that times it seemed like Zero struggled is because his team hasn't had like a crypto player or a Newcastle player, and like maybe he could be that guy, but he had to be the guy to play the other characters because he was best on those. So it's like maybe it was better to give the guy who could be like second best on those characters but's ass on crypto if he could be the best crypto in the world. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, because
that
I
is
think
the.
real quick,
Oh, go
like the
ahead.
big thing, like with Zero the crypto, because I know a ton of people want to talk about it. We, if anybody questions like whether he'd be able to figure out crypto, like they just are delusional. Like he can figure out any character he wants to when he puts his mind to it. And now that we're going to see him committing to this crypto, now that they, like you said, kind of have this role thing sorted out, it seems like. I mean, I don't even want to know what they're going to look like in a month or a month and a half. Like they're going to be scary with him 100% committing to him being on crypto.
An top IGL that plays MNK, has good movement, knows how to like survive and everything like that on crypto is like unstoppable. Like crypto will just amplify and IGL's abilities tenfold, right? Like, you know, when he's putting someone else on crypto and he's relying on all their comms versus him just seeing it, like it also will clear up so much communication where like he can have his like two players basically shut up and he just tells them everything to do, right? So yeah, like there should be no question. And I'm pretty sure he has played crypto and scrims and such like that before, way back when like Jen was still with him and Hal, and they did good, but like it's just not something I wanted to play. Another thing is, I think it's just because of boredom. These guys get bored; they don't want to play crypto.
They keep calling it
I
crypto
don't
jail every
blame
time I
them
hear about it.
at all.
Fucking fuck
I
that
absolutely
character, bro.
do not blame them at all. I don't blame them one bit. Another move in NA, kind of a surprising one. Actually, probably not that surprising, but kind of sad, I guess, for me. Loader, Carter, and Riley have split up as Sentinels, and now Carter, Loader, and Zach Mazer are going to be a new squad. So I obviously have a team to root for here big time because I like talking to Zach Mazer. He's been on the show a couple times. And then also I just like watching his teams. I like the way he calms. And then you add in Carter and Loader, who I was pulling for hard when they were playing with Sentinels. I'm really excited to see what happens here. I also want Riley to land on his feet, but we have to wait and see where he's going to go because I think there's still going to be some time before he finds a squad. But that is another squad here. I feel like, guys, for these two players, getting an IGL like Zach Mazer right now, I think this is a really good move for them overall. I think it's good for everybody. Zach gets two young up-and-comers who have stayed together for a very, very long time. And Zach has had a lot of people kind of just dip on him, unfortunately, recently. So it's nice. Maybe you get some stability there. And then also for the boys, you get an IGL who has been around the game for a really long time, has seen some success. So you want to see that. I think it's a great move for both parties.
I think we should get Zach on before they end up in first.
That's true, yeah.
Because if we get him on the pod again when he's in first and then he drops like places or loses his spot again on his team, I don't think Zach will want to be a friend of the pod anymore.
No,
So
I don't know.
yeah, like if
we
should, if we want to get Zach on the pod again, it should just be before they start Pro League and then end up in first. Yeah,
that's true.
And
Yeah,
Wyatt,
I
I
agree.
just please don't say it. Just
No,
don't.
I mean, he already
just
called one
stop.
team to. Oh yeah,
Just-
wait, no, that was EU.
I'm not going to call that
just-
because I
just
don't fully believe
Just-
it.
just
I
don't say
believe
a word.
Aurora is going to win Pro League. They will win Pro League. People forget that I called Shopify winning Pro League,
Oh,
and it
my
happened.
God.
Yeah.
People
Hey,
forget about that. They
Look at that right
forget.
there. Look at
They
this
forget
list right
these
there.
things.
Look at
What
this
hap-
list right here. Look at this list right here.
That's
One-
irrelevant.
Anyways,
But yeah, I think just to put kind of the final thought on this roster, yeah, it's 100% what you guys already said. Like the experience with Zach, with two players that have the chemistry together. You know, Zach's gonna be on crypto, giving out all the info, and with Carter and Lauder already having that experience in fights, playing together, playing off of each other, all that good stuff. When it comes to your fragger and refragger, there's a lot of things. So like, what their ceiling's gonna be, we'll have to see how they look in Pro League. But with what I've seen so far, because they've been practicing for a little bit longer before like these sets of scrims started coming up, I do think they're going to build up into a really good squad. This squad, I feel like it might be like a Pro League day or 2 or 3 maybe before we really see them kicking into overdrive. But I still think this team by the end of the split is going to be a team we'll talk about plenty. So I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, this will be my squad that I just named the ups and downs squad throughout the whole season. They might start off hot, but it is a Zach Mazer team, so you're gonna see some moments where things just aren't going their way, and then you're gonna see times where they're absolutely dominant and they destroy everybody because that's just what it is. That's part of the Zach Mazer experience. When you hop on the Zach Mazer experience, you just have to understand and know that you are going to be in absolute shambles at times, and then you're going to be on top of Mount Everest at other times. That's just how it goes. That's why it's such a fun ride. That's why you want to get on right now. You need to start, buy your stock now. Buy your stock now in team. Do they have a name?
Bald. Team Bald?
Their name is
They've
Bald.
got Team
Buy your
Bald
stock
right
in
now.
Bald right now. $ Bald. It's time to get in.
Yeah, I can't. Like, that's crazy. He's rolling with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
remember Team BBB? It was British Bald and Brows.
He does.
Back in the
He
day.
true.
does rock with the bald bit.
He just rocks with the bald. He does. He really does do it. But that is Team Bald, which I just found out the name right now. And then the last one I had that was kind of major was Pricey, Strafing Flame, and Metro. They are going to be joining a team, and they are RRQ moving forward, Donnie. When you look at just this squad overall, what is the vibe you're getting from RRQ?
This is definitely gonna be a team that, on paper, there's a lot to love about it because you got Pricey and Strafing Flame that obviously have a ton of experience, just in Apex, but also they played together before. So there's a lot to like with that. From what I saw on the announcement, Pricey is going to be the fragger opener, with Strafing Flame being the support anchor IGL. And so that would leave Metro kind of being in that refrag role. But you throw in Metro, who's a young player, I believe is 17, 18, if I remember correctly. But he is a guy that a lot of people in Apex South, a lot of people even at Champs have been starting to hype up as kind of one of those younger fraggers that's coming through. And I think that with the experience he got at LAN last year, I think shocking a lot of people that they were not out in losers round one, and the fact that they did play pretty well at times, and him especially on an individual level. I think that the biggest thing for them is that last that we saw with Pricey and Strafing Flame, there was a pretty big falling out between the two that saw Strafing Flame leave the roster. I don't know all the details of what happened. I just know that there was a pretty big argument with the two. Things were said that you really can't take back, and that's what ended up with Strafing Flame leaving. So it seems like they've been able to at least push those things aside and kind of come together and realize, hey, like, we can put something pretty good together if we can kind of just look past this and work together again. But I mean, we saw, that when they played together and things were going well, they were a very formidable team. And I think that, with some of these other rosters staying strong with Gen G, I believe Wolves and VK Gaming are all staying together. And SAUL as well. RRQ definitely is going to, I think, join that pack at the top for APAC South. So one that we'll definitely want to keep an eye on. Again, the talent is definitely there. It's just kind of how the vibes are going to be is where this team's ultimately going to end up at.
Yeah. So those are some of the major roster mania moves up to this point. There are some players that are still LFT. There are some teams that are still looking for a third. But right before the Pro League season starts, I think what we're going to do is a full roster mania episode breakdown where we just go through every single team to fill in everybody while we get ready for Pro League to start, because there's going to be lots of change up to this point. So keep your ears peeled, keep your eyes peeled for that one. Last little bit of business here before we get to Howl Boys. We've got Apex added to the Nations Cup. We're fresh off the Olympics, and now we're heading back into it in esports. We're getting over into the Nations Cup here. Now, boys, this one's kind of interesting. I know you guys did a stream with Jayhawk talking about potential rosters and stuff like that, but as far as the rules go for how many teams can be from a specific country, or like how many they can have, is there multiple teams from each country, or is it just every country gets that one team?
My understanding on it, and Don probably could even help me out here with when it comes to the countries part, is that they're trying to get they're trying to get as many countries as many different countries represented as possible before bringing in multiple countries. So the thing is when do you stop building out rosters that aren't really qualified to compete? It's the thing, because if you guys saw our list that we made, we started really going on a stretch out there to get some countries.
We were digging deep.
Yeah,
you guys had Luka Doncic coaching a team at one point.
No, we did. No, not at one point. He still is coaching Slovenia. Still coaching Slovenia.
The contract's out there for him to sign.
You guys reached out, right? He got back to you guys. You said he was available.
Yeah,
Luka did.
It depends timing. It is the off season. Don't know.
I'll DM. I'll do it right now.
DM him.
His agent said he was get the contract to Luka, so we'll see what's going on there.
Yeah, I'll DM him right now.
Right, we had Bad Bunny coaching Puerto Rico, but Puerto Rico is technically a territory of the States, so that might not even be a country that's allowed because it's already part of the United States. We had fucking Alexander Barkov for Finland coaching Finland, so we had a lot of celebrity coaches here. And such like that, right? But even in along with the joke, the biggest one is Kazakhstan. So Kazakh, who plays with where is Kazakh now actually? Donnie?
So the team is still the same, it's just they're no longer on Supernova. So it's still what was that? I'm now blanking as soon as
Hardeki and Nine Impulse.
Thank you. Yeah,
I just didn't know
same team, just not with Supernova.
Okay, yeah. So but example, that's a team that will go on to do well at LAN, and it's the EWC LAN, which is technically split one playoffs. That's where a lot of qualification comes by. They'll do good enough where he'll get Kazakhstan to get an invite based off his points alone. Because the way that the qualifications work is your champs points that you get from that split one playoffs can get your nationality, can get your country invited to the tournament. And so there's not that much diversity here. There's not 40 countries that are going to be represented at split one playoffs. So Kazakhstan might get an invite based off Kazakh in himself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things that we are still confused, even talking about how all this stuff is going to work. We've, between me, Jay, Jumba, and whoever else we've roped into the conversation, we all are pretty confused with how the whole process is going to work. Because even when it comes to team selection, we thought originally that once a country was qualified, let's say US more than likely would have the most champs points just based on the pure number of players that are from the US that play Apex. They get directly invited based off champs points. You would think that then the coach or the team manager, however the selection process goes, they would pick their 3 players. Well, there's even been some back and forth on if that's even true, and that they may still have to play through the qualifiers, even though the country's already qualified, to actually have the 3 players that are chosen. And it's just okay, well then how are you going to pick all these different US rosters that are going to play in this thing? It's very open-ended and
team
confusing.
manager, the country's team manager is the one who has to put on the qualification like bracket, right? Like, which makes also no sense. It's like, and if like imagine like Hal's team has to go through that. There's like a world where Imperial Hal doesn't win the qualifier and doesn't represent the United States, which I feel like every American in the United States that plays this game professionally would admit Imperial House should be on that fucking team.
They'd give up their spot.
So like, anyways, like it's pretty confusing to me. Like, I think at the end of the day, when like more rules get fleshed out, I feel like we will see multiple like US teams, like at the very least 2, and like multiple like maybe like Australia teams, because it just, those regions tend, like those 2 countries have tended to be the strongest in terms of their players, and it would make no sense to not have them there. And then the other rule though that is really important is that like, so your current roster that you have like in Apex, like ALGS, only 2 out of 3 of the players on that roster can be on the Esports Nations Cup team. So a good example would be like Thailand and Gen G. Everyone just thinks like, they'll immediately just take the Gen G roster. They can't. Like, only 2 of the 3 players can be taken for the Gen G roster, and then they have to find another Thai player to fill in there. So like, for example, we went with like Asia, Ziki, A-Flow as our roster, like no Dexter from Gen G there.
Yeah, it's going to be one. I think the only, if I remember correct, Jumba, the only countries that are already invited, and it's probably just because of obviously like the number of countries that are available to play in APAC North. It's Japan and South Korea, I believe, are already like have a spot basically for them. So that'll be one. How do those countries sort out then what team represents them and all that stuff? It's going to be one of those things that, yeah, once more rules come out, hopefully it'll make things make a little bit more sense. Because the thing is that I think a ton of people are going to really be invested in this Esports Nations Cup, because I mean, we talked for a while, and I mean, and so many people around the scene have talked about like what an Olympic style tournament would look like with Apex. So it's going to be fun to see. It's going to be fun. Obviously, we had some fun trying to figure out what the rosters would look like, but I think we'll probably have a little more fun once we kind of understand the rules here at the end of the day.
Our Kazakhstan squad, I found 2 players on the Apex status leaderboards. Shout out Hugo. He tracks some crazy fucking details over there. I'm assuming it's all just the API automated. And we had Akira, who is the 16th ranked player in Kazakhstan out of 25 ranked players in Kazakhstan. But what really sold me on him was that his Jackson's bow out and his Bangalore Smoke Show scores. Like, I don't know if you remember what those are. Those are the old firing range had 3 mini games randomly added in. Yeah, he had top 3 scores in both of those game modes. So I figured that if that guy's not the one who should be on top, who else would you want to be on top there? Right? Like Jackson's bow out, #1 scorer or some shit like that. Yeah. That's a professional player. I think he also had like top 3 kills in the scene. With like 43 kills, not the 43K kills, also not that much. Like, that probably wouldn't even crack top 100 in the US.
Yeah. I will say one thing I am looking forward to, and obviously I know Wyatt's going to be looking forward to this, is once we get these jerseys for each country, be looking for that jersey stream. That might be where something that Wyatt just takes the reins and we watch him go, because that'll be a fun conversation to talk about the jerseys. And do they take the U.S. soccer jersey? Do they come up with something of their own? Because obviously the World Cup is this summer. So do they just kind of take inspiration from that? Do they come up with something different? I personally hope they come up with something different. It would be cool to see what unless it's shit, obviously. But like, hopefully they'd come up with something pretty sick. But
the assumption is it would not be shit.
That would you would hope it wouldn't be. You would hope.
Yeah.
I'm going to be rocking that Canada jersey like no one else.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
I did DM Luca right now. And so I'm just waiting to hear a response. Yeah. His messages were open for me.
The tough part is someone in like Jay's tweet said, I heard something that Slovenia might not even be allowed to compete.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they doing some crazy shit?
Well, they're not allowed to like compete in like ALGS or some shit like that. I heard. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Apparently they're not. I don't know.
Luca could talk. He could grease some palms. He could get that figured out.
I bet if he talked to EWC and said, "I'll be out there," like they would probably be like, "All right."
If Luca replies to this, I can guarantee he'll be my boy. Like me and him will be boys in like 5 messages. He'll be like, "Yeah, I'm friends with this guy," and then I can start showing him some ALGS stuff, get him listening to it pregame. When he's doing the walk in from the bus, people would see his phone, see our podcast on there, and then the rest is history. I think that'll happen. It's a possibility. But yeah, I DM Luca. He should respond at any moment.
All right.
I'm waiting for Robert Lewandowski to get back to us as well. So
yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, because I mean he's gonna be the World Cup's gonna be over with. He's gonna have a break. I
what
think
better way to relax?
Coach Apex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What better way to relax?
I thought we had to take Lewandowski off.
Oh no, I'm personally have made a call.
Oh, you're gonna put him back on? Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
With all my influence with Polish Apex, that is that we're making that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Ladies and gents, that should just about do it for all of the Roster Mania stuff and the Nation Cup breakdown. We're going to get some more information on the Nations Cup as well as Roster Mania in the next coming weeks. So stick around and stay tuned for future episodes as we get closer and closer to the Open, and then also a little bit closer to Pro League split number 1. It's going to be one hell of a time. Cannot wait. So excited for that. Boys and girls, we're going to take a quick break and send you guys on the rest of your week. Let's get it. All right, ladies and gents, that was the CEO, Imperial Hal, in all of his glory. Thanks to Hal for hopping back on the pod. Boys and girls, we're going to round it out with a little segment we like to call the Heart to Heart, where we just talk about life, man. Where we just talk about life. Jumba, you always go first. It's your turn. Let's get it.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to know, like, what happened in 1967, what Toronto Maple Leaf made a deal with the devil to win the Stanley Cup and then just cursed every Toronto sports fan for like the future of eternity. Because like I'm at the point where like bad losses don't even hurt because
that's
like I'm that hardened. I'm hardened. Like you like people try to flame me. I'm like, there's nothing you can say to me that hurts more than just witnessing the teams lose. I watched the Leafs go up 2-0 in a series in the second round on Florida, and then they were up 3-1 in the following game. They would have been up 3-0, and then they proceeded to lose that game and then lose the series in game 7, getting blown out like 6-1 or 7-1 in both games 5 and 7. I watched a ball get wedged under a fucking mat that caused it to be a double instead of a fucking in-park home run for the Jays, as the Jays fucking cost a lead and let fucking a guy, I can't even remember his name, who shouldn't be hitting a home run, hit a home run, and fucking then they go lose to the Dodgers in overtime. And then I watched the Canadians in Olympic gold medal game just absolutely body the fucking Americans for 40 fucking minutes straight. Because I'll say the first period they didn't body them. And Connor Hellebuck, in my opinion, the NHL's biggest fraud, the guy who does not show up in big games, had the greatest career game of his life to keep them in there. And then Nathan McKinnon, I'll fucking get on that. Have like some of the biggest brain lapses. I think he was concussed. I think he was sick. I think he broke his knee on his own, hitting a guy in a game, a 10-2 game against France. That then he fucking, instead of swiping a puck into a corner, he fucking takes the body and allows Jack Hughes to score a golden goal, which, shout out to the Americans. I'm not going to fucking sit here and say they didn't deserve that shit. They fucking hung in there. They fucking figured out a way to win a game where they were not supposed to win. And I'm not saying that because Canada is like, they're supposed to win like beforehand. So no, I think going game, they were very even. I mean, when you watch the game, the Americans were not supposed to win by the way they were playing, but they found a way. So shout out that they did a good job there. And I just don't even feel pain, but I do feel annoyance. I'm going to complain. I'm going to whine because I'm going to say, what the fuck did I do that I can't experience happiness with sports? What did I do?
Understandable, man.
That's in a calendar, not a calendar year. Year to date, I've watched the Leafs do that, the Jays have that, and then Canada. No one man should have to experience all that. Instead, a whole city does.
Yeah,
It's been actually a tough impressive. Year. I'm not gonna lie. That's impressive. I don't.
It's
really
been
know
a tough year.
Tough year. I've watched the Leafs be fucking choked for 9 years straight. I'm turning 27.
It's been a tough decade. You know, it's.
I was 11 in 2010. I guess I will say 2014 Team Canada was so good. I actually didn't watch the fucking gold medal game because it was at 8 a.m. in the morning because they were in Sochi, and they were so good. I just knew they would win. They scored 17 goals and then 3 against. But now when I'm fucking 27 and I have a frontal lobe that can remember this shit when I'm on my deathbed, why can't I not witness some happiness?
It was like the second it went to overtime, I think everybody just knew what was going to happen because Canada had so many chances and they just didn't score. And,
I didn't even mention the empty net. By Nathan McKinnon. The other empty net by Jonathan Taves, which I think that guy's a fucking American spy. Revoke his passport, send him to the States. I don't care. Anyways. That guy.
Well, Jonathan Taves is an
Jonathan Taves might care a little bit.
Jonathan Taves. Did I say Jonathan Taves? I didn't say Jonathan Taves.
You said Jonathan Taves.
You said Jonathan Taves.
Oh, okay. I thought I said Devon Taves.
No, Devon Taves is the one you're talking about.
I apologize to Jonathan Taves. Take everything back I said about him.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Strike it from the record.
I can't believe I even did that.
Never happened.
Devon Taves is a fucking American spy that we should revoke his passport and give an American one immediately.
He's having a bad year.
Not only did he fucking cost that first goal on one of the most dumbest fucking things I've ever seen. I guess I can't even blame him, Connor Hellebuck. That's the greatest save I've ever seen on the goal line, just sticking the paddle out. But my heart to heart is just frustration. And I'm going to tell everyone it's okay to be frustrated sometimes. Be frustrated. If you're Canadian, be mad. But don't let it hurt you because nothing can hurt us now.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah.
I know, I'm whining to two Americans here.
Yeah.
Tell your perspective, though. The funniest thing is, I joined the call, and you guys weren't even cheering.
Well, so when the goal first went in, I was confused because I was like, wait,
it was hard to see it go in,
Yeah, I didn't see it go in at first. And then I was like, oh, we won. And then my friend who got me back into hockey, because I've had two major hockey figures in my life. One is our good friend Troy, and I was into hockey before that, but he kind of got me back into it when I hadn't been really watching recently, and so Troy asked if I could stream it for him in the Discord, and he was in there, and he was just very unhappy with the fact that it is 3-on-3. So he was just like, he was like, listen, this feels good. He was like, this feels fantastic. I just wish it wasn't 3-on-3. I think most hockey fans would say they wished it wasn't 3-on-3.
Saw my text. I said, either way this goes, 3-on-3 is bullshit. And I think I would have been the same. I think I would have had a nice little stand up clap, yes. And then been like, that was lame as fuck because it was 3-on-3. Not when the Leafs scored or not like when freaking Canada won in the Four Nations and it was 5-on-5 like that. I was freaking out because that period was intense. It's intense hockey.
Yeah. No, I'm still extremely from my perspective, and I'll talk about it a little bit more on my heart to heart. I have a different angle of it, but I was very happy and I was almost in shock because I just it's hard to put into words that game because we were getting shelled in the second and third period. And so when we finally won, it was almost like, what just happened? But then when you think back on the game, it's like we killed off a 5-on-3. Mm-hmm. The USPK didn't allow a single goal the entire tournament, which is insane. I don't think I truly appreciated how good our D-core was until it was over and just what they did. Our offense was atrocious, and I think our GM picked it that way on purpose. We were just dumping and chasing the entire second and third period. So I hope maybe we bring in Cole Caulfield next time, or maybe even Jason Robertson. But it was, when you think back to all the big moments, Hellebuck with some crazy saves, even the ones people don't talk about. There was a few times where Nathan McKinnon was coming down the pipe and shooting one, or
Celebrini and McDavid had breakaways. And he shut them both down.
And he shut them down. So it's like when you piece that all together, and then Jack Hughes, a guy who has gone through so much injury problems, a number 1 overall pick. He's gone through so many injury problems. I actually think his brother was the true like leader of our team as far as just like play on the ice. Quinn Hughes is insane, man. And I'm a Cale Makar guy. I'm an Avalanche guy, so I always think Cale Makar will be better. But like getting to watch Quinn Hughes be on my side, you truly realize like how great he is. Like he's incredible. Austin Matthews, for as much shit as I give him defensively, he was insane in the final game. So it's like, dude, there's a lot to like be appreciative of. And I think like it's weird because growing up as a Californian and really not that many people talking about hockey, it was kind of like a cool moment for me to watch because all the people around me were all watching it who never watched. So I got to actually experience it with like coming to work and people knowing me that as the hockey guy, everybody walking up being like, that was incredible. That was great. And then like, you know, guys being like, I'm going to start watching hockey now. It's like, I love that. Like, that's so cool. And it's, and like, it's like a phenomenon that I hope continues in the US, you know, like that's
they go fucking
cool.
turn on an LA game. They're like, this is not the same podcast I signed up for.
No, it was so funny because some of these guys would be like, yeah, I'm gonna go watch some Devils. That's where Jack Hughes is on, right? I'm like, yeah, have fun with that, buddy. Like that's all gonna be fun for you. But yeah, no, it's great to just see the growth of American hockey. I remember when we lost in Sochi in 2014, I watched that game. That one stung. That one hurt. And it was just like, how are we ever going to be able to like catch up? But you just kind of saw it happening in like the lower developments, like World Juniors, stuff like that. You're starting to see like the Americans were starting to get some talent. They're starting to get some high draft picks. And now I think it's like it's like a zero how thing. It's like, it's a good rivalry, US and Canada. I think it always was. But I think it's like it's going to go back and forth, I think now, at least for a little while until Canada just gets like a national development program or some crazy shit that the US has been rocking. So it's like
my perspective of it is like for a while, Canada, I think still will be like the place where most these players come out of because like it's like so interesting. Like you're telling me people are coming up to you for the first time talking about it. Our fucking premier of our province, like think like a governor, fucking put out a national thing allowing restaurants to serve alcohol at 6 a.m. The game didn't start till 8, so he gave everyone an extra 2 hours to get hammered in the morning.
Yeah.
He told every so the game ended up being on Sunday, but for all the other games, he was like putting out things like schools stop and start showing the women's and men's games like during school hours and everything like that. So like that's stuff that goes on here. So like it's so just ingrained in our culture already that every kid like is kind of fucking born into like, oh, they're gonna be a little hockey player. My sister just had a son. He's 2 months old, and like my family always talks about like him playing hockey already. Like that's what it's like to be a Canadian. Like just it's in you. But like we don't have a development program around goalies. So like we don't have a good goalie right now. Like we had gone are the days of the Carey Price, the Roberto Luongos. Like the 2014, 2010 teams were insane. On top of that, I think that like when you look at like the American development program, the NCAA, the fact you can make money in the NCAA now and everything like that, compared to what we have here. Once upon a time, it was the best place to come to. Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes played in Toronto growing up. Like, it's not the place to do that anymore. Like, it's better if you're Canadian to go to the States. Go look at like the University of, I think it was like North Dakota or some shit.
No doubt.
Look at look at their fucking whole like setup, like their arena and room. I'm not kidding. I've been in the Leafs like room. It's better than like what the Leafs have. Like it's so like if like those universities got that, like I think the United States within the next 10 to 20 years will catch up and like surpass it. And it's like you guys got 10x the population. Like it should have happened faster.
Like I'm just happy like people are starting to see it. There's parts of me where it's like I kind of want this to always be my game where it's like it doesn't get overly popular so I can just enjoy it with my little group. But there's also the side of it where it's like, yeah, but you also want to be able to talk about it and have like these conversations and stuff with like I have to find friends from Canada to talk hockey about because I don't have anybody here to talk about it with. So no, it's really cool. It's really good. I would also love to shout out the U.S. women's hockey team. I don't think they got enough praise. They were absolutely fantastic. And you want to talk about a team that truly deserved to get some praise. The U.S. women's hockey team was dominant. And although the gold medal game went to overtime, the first time they played Canada, who I would say was the next best thing, they beat them 5-0. So it's like that U.S. women's team was absolutely insane. One stupid joke overshadowed it, which is so bullshit. But that women's hockey team needs all the praise, all the love. And I really want a unified National Women's Hockey League. Right now, they kind of have two going. And I hope that they merge, similar to like the WHA and the NHL, to where we can actually get like a legit, like one women's hockey league. I would love to see that happen. I've talked about this many times. Sick. Yeah, there's the PWHL and then there's the NWHL, and I just want them to merge. I don't care who takes the name, just come together and grow the sport, because I got daughters. I want them to play. I want them to at least try it. So yeah, no, I want to shout out both teams, because both teams deserve the love. Both teams deserve praise.
The women's game was a flip, actually, if you think about it. It's like the Canadians were the ones kind of getting bodied, and the goalie was helping them out, just saving them. It was 1-0. I will say I was like absolutely floored by a fucking call where like an American just fell on the puck behind the net, and the ref just instantly blew a whistle and called an offensive zone faceoff, which gives the Americans the ability to pull the goalie for free with 2 minutes left in the game. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know if that's like a rule in women's. Like, it was just a scrum behind the net, and she blew the whistle instantly. That drove me insane. So I think the Canadians should have won that one too. But like once they got to overtime, I was like, oh, it's
that move was crazy.
The Canadian, and the Canadians just looked so nervous. They looked outclassed.
But yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about it here in a second. Dawn, you're
Dawn, go ahead.
No, as soon as I heard hockey start, I was like, I'll just stay mute. But no, I will say, was sick to watch the women's game. I did not watch any of the men's hockey, not because I didn't want to, but because since I didn't watch the first game, I didn't want to jinx it and be like, the one game I watched, they lost. So I just literally hopped in Discord when they were watching and just listened to Wyatt and Troy react to the game. So that was actually kind of fun. So I might listen to more hockey on the radio or something, because that was like a fun experience. But
I love hockey on the radio, bro.
But also that goal by Megan Keller was absolutely incredible,
so sick,
insane in that moment. So yeah, huge shout out to both teams. Honestly, just the little that I know, anytime both the U.S. and Canada are playing to that level, it's always going to be good for the state of hockey. But mine's going to be completely a different subject. Home ownership sucks. That is basically what I've learned this week. I had my heat go out 2 days ago, which thankfully was a quick fix, but it took me a while to get to that quick fix. And then today my washer decided to wash the floor and the carpet instead of my clothes. So that was fun for about 2 hours, using every towel I have in my house to soak up all of the water that poured out, which my dad guessed was about 5 to 10 gallons of water. So you can imagine what that scene was like.
Are you going to put the towels in the dryer now?
I mean, gonna have to figure out something. But no, I actually
like, what if the dryer goes next?
I actually fixed the issue with the washer. So if there's anything, it's cool that I fixed stuff. But honestly, after all that though, and just all the other stuff that's been going on, my sister was the MVP. She called. I got to see my nephew over the phone. That was just born recently, so that was dope. I got to see who I call my favorite niece, because yes, I have a favorite, and everybody can judge me if they want. But got to see them over the phone as well, so that definitely made things all better at the end of the day. So shout out to being an uncle and all that stuff, kind of like we talked about last time. But yeah, mine is home ownership sucks, and Wyatt can go back to talking about hockey now. So There you go.
Okay. So this one's kind of tough, but I'm going to do my best on this. So the US winning the gold was not only cool because I've never got to see that before. But it was also cool because the man that introduced me to hockey, one of my closest family friends growing up, he passed away tragically. He lost his battle with cancer about 2 weeks ago. And it's been it's been pretty tough because not only was he a family friend, but I've worked with him for the last 5 years. I grew up with him when I was a kid, and when I was young, I mean, he was a good, probably 12 years older than me when I was younger. When my dad was, freshly divorced, I'm a kid going through that. He was just a good family friend, and he introduced me to the game. And it's it's such a tragic loss because he was such a good guy. Um, he bought me my first hockey stick. He bought me my first helmet. He built a net out of PVC pipe and netting so that I could just practice shots in my little cul-de-sac. He bought me my first pair of rollerblades because I was too scared to skate. He always wanted me to get out there and skate, and I was just always too afraid because I don't know, I just was. And I just when the U.S. did win the gold, it was hard not to think of him immediately because I know how much he would have loved to talk about it at work when we got back on Monday, and I just didn't get that opportunity. So it was a big loss for my family, just because knowing him my whole life and being there. I remember we used to play NHL Hits Pro 2002, and I didn't even think about it till recently. I used to be like, man, I was so good at that game. I always used to beat him. And now I'm thinking, I'm like, he just let me win. Like he wasn't trying to like beat me. He just wanted me to have a good time. And I remember when I started getting back into hockey, I decided to join the adult league. We only have one league out here. We have one rink. So I joined the adult league. And I go into the locker room. It was probably week 3. I'd played the first 2 weeks, and I'm in the locker room getting ready for the game, and he walks in, and I hadn't seen him at this point because I hadn't started working with him again yet. I hadn't seen him at this point in probably like 5 or so years, just because he had started a family and stuff like that. And he walks in and he's like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "What's up, man?" And I just remember being a kid. I went to the rink with him all the time, and I would watch him skate. He played defense. He was so good at skating backwards. He was like the only one in Fresno who could. And we go out there on the ice, and I fed him a pass at the point, smashes it in, and it just felt like the coolest thing in the world. Like the guy who like taught me this game, showed me this game. I just fed him a goal. It was incredible. And then when I eventually scored my first goal, which took me forever, by the way, he was the first one to dig the puck out of the net, and he threw it to my dad over the glass, which was incredible. Another moment that stands out was back in the early days when Fresno still had a farm team, the Fresno Falcons. We won the Kelly Cup, I believe. And I don't know if this was the Kelly Cup final game, like the winning game, or if this was just one game in the series, but they had a game in Fresno and they won the game. They threw a puck over the glass after the game was over. We won. He digs it out. He fought like 3 guys off and then handed me the puck. Like he was just that type of guy. He always was. It was just so hockey centric, but it was also like understanding that I was going through a lot, and to have somebody where I didn't have to talk about it and not even have to mention it was one of the coolest things in the world. He was a big Detroit Red Wings fan, and once I found that out, I picked his biggest rival, and I stuck with that all the way through. But it never got in the way. It was always just like a real fun time. It was always just like, it was just great. It was just great. And I remember like my dad didn't have a whole lot of money when obviously the divorce happened. And he had a box that he would buy at the Fresno Falcons game. So when we had nothing to do, I was at a game just about every other weekend if I could. And I just spent so much time at the rink with him, just learning the game, figuring it out, and all that different kind of stuff. So I just wanted to shout him out. He leaves behind a daughter and a wife, and it's super unfortunate. He was super young. I don't know exactly how old, but I believe he was only 44 or 45. So it's really tragic. But I just wanted to shout out Kevin Nelson. That's my guy, the one who showed me hockey, the one who brought me this game, the one who showed me like this whole world that I never thought I'd be able to get into. And And I'm glad I got to share that moment on the ice with him where it's like you go in for the hug after, after you guys score. It's like, I don't know if I ever thought when I was a kid I would get that chance because I was so scared of everything. But I got that chance. I went out there, he scored, and I got to have that moment. So I'll always carry that with me. I'll always carry those things with me. So shout out Kevin Nelson. That's my guy. That's my heart to heart. A little heavy to end it, boys, but I just wanted to shout him out. So thank you guys for listening.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
It's amazing.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you sharing that. That's an amazing story. We haven't even talked about that offline. So it's like, awesome to hear where the love of the game came from. But, also like that win even means so much more. It's nice to hear.
No, it was great. It was fantastic. And I wish you could have seen it, but it was great. It was great. I like to think that, not to dig it in too deep, Jumbo, but I like to think that when McKinnon was taking that shot, he threw his body in front of it.
He might have.
That's the way I like to think of it.
Hey, like I already said, I never I'm mad at my own pain or my own frustrations with the teams I watch, but it's like I've never once sat there and watched the game and was like thinking to myself that the Americans didn't deserve it. Like I knew the Canadians deserved it, but it's like I wasn't sitting there thinking the Americans did it because there's two parts of the game. There's offense, defense. We couldn't score, but there's a reason why we couldn't score. So it doesn't dig that none of that digs the knife in. What digs the knife in is you texting me the next day about my team having struggles to close out game 7. I was like, you at least give me a day.
It was my team too. I was going through my camera roll deleting photos, and I found the one where we just haven't won a game 7 in
it's just you sent that the day after
tries.
You sent that the day after the Americans won, and you the day after the Canadians lost. So I was like, well, that hurts. But either way, trust me, that's amazing to hear. And if that's who stopped the puck, then I'm totally for it.
Hell yeah. I know he plays defense, man. He played defense forever. But I just wanted to quickly shout out Kevin Nelson, man. What a legend. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in as always. Thank you guys for hopping on and getting ready with the show. We also have some stuff coming up big time. We've got the Open very, very soon. And then we also have Pro League on the way as well. So be on the lookout for that. We might have some live streams kicking up here. We'll do some announcements whenever we get a chance to see if we're going to be live streaming all of the different regions. I know me and Donnie have talked about it. I would probably be able to join the NA one, but I think Don might be trying to do the live stream from the Apex the podcast and his channels simultaneously. If we can figure out the way to do it, it shouldn't be too difficult.
I can show you guys.
Well, I think we're going to figure it out. But ladies and gents, thank you guys for tuning in as always. We'll catch you guys next week for another episode of the Apex the podcast. See ya.